thank you all for getting up early to come see us, and also thank you for coming to talk with me, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
We were having a chat backstage about what I thought was the hottest issue in advertising, which is the use of ad blockers on the web. And you were sort of disappointing me by telling me that you didn't really care.
Yes.
I'm a publisher, of course. I care deeply. Can we just take a poll? Put your hands in the air if you use an ad blocker on a regular basis. Okay, so you're all stealing money from me, and you should be arrested on the way out. Am I wrong, Sean?
Well, I mean, I think the point I was making is that I think it's primarily an issue for publishers, and it's less of an issue for us as marketers. I mean, sort of the genius of our industry is we're very savvy, and we're going to go to where you, the consumers, are, and we're going to find ways to create meaningful connections with you. So if you put up these barriers to us, we'll find the workarounds. We've done this historically when, print was there and radio came into play, we went into radio. Then when TV came and misplaced radio, we went into TV, and that's what we've done with all of the social networks, and we found this way of creating these meaningful connections. I think the challenge is, we obviously love advertising, and I think you as consumers have to make a decision whether you care more about the speed with which you're experiencing your mobile device, or whether you care about that small publisher that's surviving on ad revenue. But it's basically an issue of supply and demand. We as consumers have a choice, and we have to say, am I going to choose speed, or am I going to support my publishers to get this content that I want that's ad-supported?
I mean, I think the thing that surprises me about the high percentage of people using ad blockers is that previously on the publishing side, we thought we had a deal with you guys. We're going to give you our best content, we're going to give you our best products completely free of charge. And all you have to do is tolerate a couple of ads. But apparently this is not enough.
Yes.
And I was thinking from the point of view of your clients, perhaps, and maybe I'm wrong, more and more publishers can put their content behind paywalls of some kind.
Yes.
The Washington Post currently prevents you from reading it if you arrive with an ad blocker. The Wall Street Journal's had a paywall for a long time.
Yep.
Business Insider is considering a paywall. These venues, these media, some advertisers really want to be on these venues.
Yes.
But if we can monetize that at a higher rate with subscriptions, you're losing those venues.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an issue, particularly since I think, in many ways as advertisers, we've almost moved out of the advertising business and into the publishing business. I mean, I think content is what people really want, and I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to find interesting ways to work with publishers like yourselves, but it would probably shift into our clients' own properties rather than through your properties, which I think would be a real pity and a real loss for our clients, to be honest.
Okay. Let's be adjusted. Thank you.
Boom.
That is much better, isn't
yes.
it? Okay, let's talk about Facebook, which I think delivered earnings last night. It's another staggering quarter for Facebook. My impression is, and tell me if I'm wrong, that Facebook can basically sort of set its own rules for advertisers, and you guys don't have much of a say in dealing with Facebook. Is there any sign that you're getting greater leverage with Facebook and they're being sort of more cooperative? Or do you still, is it still the case that you sort of have to do what Facebook tells you to be on there?
Well, I think we have to do what Facebook tells us, but I actually like what Facebook is telling us to do, because basically everything that you buy through Facebook is through an auction. And so I think that creates a lot of market efficiency. And what I think is particularly cool about Facebook is they're not only looking at the price that you use for the auction, but they're also looking at the quality of the content. So they're very consumer-centric, and they will always, if you put in a number of ads into Facebook, they'll always show the ad that's performing the best. And you may enter an auction and you may not have the highest price, but if you have a history of delivering relevant content, they will choose you over the higher price. So I actually think it's super smart what Facebook is doing in terms of the auction base. I mean,
do clients like it, or do they find that difficult to deal with?
I think that they're okay with it. I mean, I don't know, maybe you want a more burly answer, but I mean, the one area that I think is really interesting about Facebook is I think Facebook should be used almost more like a direct marketing instrument. I mean, here you have this vast database of users, and they have the most incredible targeting capabilities of any platform in the world. So I think one challenge when you think about cost is if you start to apply direct marketing principles to Facebook and you want to go to a very niche audience, that can become very costly. And I think if the price is too high, that would discourage us from playing with the platform in interesting ways, and that might be, an area where Facebook is sort of a disservice to itself.
So previously I thought that Google was the king of direct marketing and direct response. You're telling me Facebook is now better? Which do you prefer for clients? Which is more effective, Google or Facebook?
Well, I think when you try to pin Facebook and Google against each other, it's a little bit like asking me, like, of your children, who's your favorite? Because I think that they're...
Everyone has a favorite child. Let's just admit
that. But I think that they're both amazing platforms. I mean, I think that Facebook was a little slow to catch up with Google, but they both provide scale. They both provide a great variety of ad units. They both have great targeting capabilities, they both have remarketing capabilities, and they both have great analytics. I mean, I think what's interesting about them, and sort of in the way that you would depict your children, is that they each have better qualities. So, I mean, what I like about Google is you get to take advantage of search intent, and you know exactly what people are looking for, and then you can tailor messages directly at them, or towards them, or with them, ideally. With Facebook, I think what's interesting is in terms of their targeting capabilities, they really have this element of what people's likes are and interests are, and it allows you to create a really human dimension to when you think about your target audience on the platform. I think that they do a lot of great experimentation with the ad units, so,
Facebook is beefing up its search product. Do you think search on Facebook is going to be valuable to clients, or is Google always going to remain the king of that?
I mean, I think Google will always remain the king on that. I mean, the big difference between Google and Facebook to me is when you go to Google, you know that you're looking for something and you have that intention. When you go to Facebook, you're going to engage with your friends, and I think that's a challenge of advertising on Facebook, is it's more interruptive, whereas Google, people are actually in the mindset of trying to find something.
Okay. Do you see among your clients, has Amazon taken any search budget from Google? Because what I hear is that Amazon increasingly would like you to be the place where you search first if you are shopping.
Yeah.
As in, like, skip the Google search, just go straight to Amazon. And I imagine there are search ad budgets for that.
I mean, to be honest, you're not going to like my answer, but I'm not a media buyer, so I don't actually know how those budgets are shifting, but obviously the big players in the marketplace are Google, Facebook, Apple, and Amazon, and I think any smart marketer is going to be distributing their media dollars amongst those four areas.
Okay. Let's talk about privacy and consumer privacy and shielding consumers' personal data from advertising and trackers and all that kind of thing. The ground is kind of shifting here. Europe has changed some of its laws on where data needs to be kept.
Yep.
And what the guarantees are there. What is your number one worry about privacy and how it's going to either help or hurt advertisers?
I mean, I think the conversation is all around the safe harbor laws that are going, and the EU obviously made this decision that the long-standing safe harbor laws are no longer adequate for protecting the privacy and data of European citizens. I think the biggest mistake would be if suddenly governments were saying they're not going to exchange any data between the two continents. But fortunately, that is not what they're saying. The EU commissioner is saying that they're working very proactively with the US, and they have been trying to find ways to set a new global standard for how we protect data and privacy, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Okay. What keeps you up at night? What's the number one thing you worry about?
What keeps me up at night? I mean, I think what keeps me up at night is just the crazy fragmentation of the market and the proliferation of all these tools that we have to work with. I mean, if I think back, not to age myself, but if I think back to the late 90s when I worked at like a pure play shop, we were much more in the mindset of being like product developers, and a lot of our clients didn't even have websites, and we were very focused on their own properties. But with all the social networks, it's totally changed the environment where now we're dealing with everyone else's products and we have to keep pace with all of their changes. So not only do we have to know what changes they're making, we have to tell our clients what changes are being made. By the time we explain it to our clients, they've made another change. And so I think we just, what keeps me up at night is making sure that we can keep pace with all of these platforms and everything they're doing and providing cutting edge work to our clients.
Okay, so which are your favorite and least favorite platforms?
Well, I think I'm probably not going to choose a least favorite. I mean, I think Facebook is my favorite just because of its scale and its targeting capabilities. I think this may be a little embarrassing to say it, but I think that the platform I'm most interested in is Snapchat, and almost because it's so distant from my domain. I mean, I really wish that I had teenage children so I could play with the platform more often, but I think that they're doing some really interesting stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys saw what happened with Burberry, but right before their London runway show, for the 24 hours leading up to it, they were releasing Mario Testino images of the show and having user-generated content come out every hour. But then after 24 hours, it just all vanishes. To me, I don't know if this is a generational thing, but this is like wildly ephemeral and wildly millennial, and it kind of perplexes me, but I find it to be wonderful at the same time. So I'm interested to see what happens with platforms like that.
I mean, I suppose the value there is if you know it's going to disappear, the consumers you're targeting have to make a point to look at it. Like, they have to take that action. It's not a passive consumption, it's an active consumption, and that is more valuable.
Yeah, I just think I'm not that committed generally.
Okay. Is it the case that advertisers generally prefer to create assets that are permanent and can sort of live on in some?
Well, I think you need a
That's what they used to do, right?
Can you hear?
Sorry, I thought that's what they used to do, that advertisers would create a campaign or just any kind of branded content asset.
Yeah.
But they would want to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I like not giving preference to Google, but I've always liked this model of sort of like hero content and hub content and hygiene content, and I think you need all different types. You still need the great emotional films that advertisers have always been known for. You need some of this ongoing content like how-to videos, but then you need like that quick stuff in social that shows up and then disappears, and you're not going to invest as much money into that type of content. But I think you have to have a very layered and nuanced approach to how you deal with your content.
Okay. Oh, this microphone works.
He's getting louder and louder as time goes on.
Yeah, I've got a large number of microphones here. What do you think of Facebook's new definition of a video view, which I'm hearing some people complain that they basically count a view as like 3 seconds of autoplay.
Yeah. I mean,
is that good enough?
I mean, for us as advertisers, viewability is hugely important. So we really like where Facebook and Twitter are going. They're going much more towards a pricing policy that's around accountability. And that allows our media buyers to make sure that we can guarantee to our clients that these messages that are going out there are actually getting viewed. So I think it's a good thing.
But 3 seconds of autoplay, is that really a view? I mean, isn't that just me like passively scrolling past it and it being counted as a view?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm the expert to determine where to draw the line. I mean, everyone has such short attention spans. I don't know, maybe we should be happy with 3 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I guess in the modern era, 3 seconds is a long time. What do you think of Twitter? Can Twitter be saved?
I mean, I have such mixed feelings about Twitter. I don't know what it is about me that I have mixed feelings. In thinking about it, I mean, I think one of the challenges with Twitter is they provide a lot of great things to brands for free. I mean, it's a naturally great platform to use when you have live events. It's great for the ongoing drumbeat of content that you would have. I think it's great as a servicing channel. None of this stuff do you necessarily have to pay for. I mean, obviously promoted tweets are great. I think they're doing the right stuff, that they have great targeting, they're trying different ad formats. But I've never feel this sense of urgency there with clients in terms of banking their money there. And I also think with everything that's going on with messaging and all of the types of apps that are being developed around messaging platforms, you're going to start to see a replication of this type of functionality. And I think that could be a real threat to Twitter.
Okay. The kind of thing I think about Twitter is, I remember like having to persuade my mum to go on Facebook because I got sick and tired of just like emailing photographs of things to her that she hadn't seen.
Yes.
And I realized this is ridiculous. I've got like a direct mailing system just for my mum. I was like, please get on Facebook and learn how to use Facebook because all of the photos are on there and you can see them anytime and you can stop complaining at me for not knowing what's going on in my life, right?
Yeah.
But I would never recommend my mum to get a Twitter account. That would be a nightmare.
That's true.
And I don't want to teach her how to use it either. And I was just thinking from an advertiser point of view, it's like you can kind of reach everyone on Facebook, but Twitter is for very specific types of people.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I think you can tell, I don't know why. I think it partly is just my personality. I'm more of a private person, so I like it in terms of getting data and information and knowledge, but I just have weird, I probably don't have the best answer other than I'm not as enthusiastic about it.
What do you think?
I'm sure you guys are all like lovers of Twitter, so I apologize.
What do you think is the most underrated thing in digital advertising right now?
I mean, this is probably like super geeky, but...
No, go super geeky.
Okay, I'm gonna go super geeky, but I really love this notion of like personalization at scale and programmatic creative. So like when I think about Facebook, you're sitting on this amazing database, and I think that media companies are kind of shying away from the full potential of what it offers, that you can actually slice and dice these target audiences into micro subgroups, and then you can create multiple versions of creative for them and test and optimize against them. We have this company in Brazil that we partner very closely with called Kubo, and they just did this thing for Axe. They created these beautiful, gorgeous films by famous directors, sort of reinventing Romeo and Juliet for the modern age. But what they did is they created these trailers for it, where they literally created 25,000 versions of the trailer by mixing and matching different clips from it.
25,000?
Yes, for each of them. So it was 100,000 total because they had 4 different films. And then they threw these all out into the marketplace, and they saw which trailers people were responding the best to. And to me, I really actually think, as long as we can make sure it doesn't get creepy, that is like the future of marketing. It's really trying to get as customized of an experience and message to you that will resonate for you and make you want to engage.
Okay, fantastic. On that note, that the future of marketing should not be creepy.
Yes.
We are out of time, but thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Thank you.